Hi there. In this video I'm looking at Majjhima Nikaya number 5, the Anangana Sutta, which is translated as without blemishes. I think probably my interpretation probably without faults, personality faults. Blemishes I tend to associate more with physical imperfections. So maybe without faults, without personality faults would be another way of interpreting it. The sutta itself is not by the Buddha, but by one of his followers, Sariputta and Moggallana, and it's Sariputta who starts off, and dealing with the idea that there are 4 different personality types, if you like. The person with blemishes or faults, person with faults who does not know they've got faults, the person who's got faults and knows he has faults, the person who has no faults but doesn't know he has no faults, and the person who has no faults but he knows he has no faults. So there's the 4 types of people. And goes on to say that the person with faults who doesn't know he has faults obviously makes no effort to correct those faults because he's not aware of those faults, and the faults will grow throughout the person's life, and the faults he's describing as the 3 defilements of greed, hatred and delusion. But the person who has the faults and is aware of the faults will make an effort through right effort, right mindfulness, to correct these faults. Now the next person is the person who has no faults and doesn't know it, and this person will tend to start developing faults if they're not aware that they have faults. So and Sariputta says the person will start to be obsessed with sensual desire and arising of other desires, and will fall into greed, hatred and delusion. And the last person mentioned is the person with no faults, and he knows he has no faults, so he will be aware that faults can arise and will therefore be aware of those faults. So Sariputta, in describing these different character types, takes an analogy of a bronze bowl, and in my mind I'm thinking of, say, like the bowls that the monks carry around. So the first personality type has a dirty bowl, and it stays dirty, in fact gets dirtier. The second person has a dirty bowl, but he cleans it. The third person has a nice new bowl, but it becomes stained over time because it's not looked after. And the last person also has a nice new bowl, but he cleans it and looks after it. So Sariputta then goes on to illustrate the effect of these faults in a monastic situation, in a sangha, and that they can be shown up as being person being publicly called out and being hated for it, sees things as being ego enhancing that are denied, being upset by being not allowed to lead an alms round, being upset at not getting the best seat in the sala, being upset at being not allowed to give the blessing, and so on and so forth. So all these things lead to anger and bitterness in the person with a character fault. And it also goes on to say there's two sort of types of monk or bhikkhu. The one who's not respected, because although he may be outwardly devout, he's inwardly unwholesome. And again he alludes to, Sariputta alludes to the bronze bowl, and in this case it's a nice new shiny bronze bowl, but inside are smelly old putrid bones and rotting flesh, and the people are disgusted at what's inside. Whereas on the other hand there's the bhikkhu or monk who is not as good in his practices, but he's abandoned evil, unwholesome desires. And again, we have the analogy of the new bronze dish. This time, when the lid is lifted off the bronze dish or bronze bowl, it's filled with nice food and people are impressed. That's where Sariputta finishes his discourse, and another follower, Moggallana, takes over, and he takes a simile to illustrate or to assist in the teaching. And by way of simile, he talks of a person called Samati, who's a wheelwright's son, and he's planing a wheel rim, and he's being watched by a person called Panduputta, who is thinking how the wheelwright could better perform his job. And Moggallana, who's relating this, observes that the wheelwright was actually following Panduputta's unspoken thoughts, and Panduputta is pleased, as if he knew my mind with his mind. And this analogy by Moggallana seems to infer that just as Panduputta's thoughts were carried out by Samati, the cartwright's son, just mentioned, so the teaching that's just been heard by Sariputta has discerned how to correct faults amongst the backsliders, and similarly those who are already wholesome will take comfort in Sariputta's words. So it's basically saying there's a sort of transposition of thoughts and feelings from the observer to the persons listening. So that's my understanding of the fifth sutta in the series. Thanks for watching. Cheers.